Welcome to CJ's Chat Box. Today I have the privilege of speaking with Linda Ewing, who lives here in the village. I happened to meet her when she was one of the models for a fashion show we had recently, and I was told by her friend Patty that I should talk to Linda because she has an interesting story, and so I did. I called her and I said, okay, Linda, tell me what makes life so interesting for you. And I found out a lot of things. So can we start at the beginning as to where you were born and then what happened right after you were born?
Well, I was born in San Francisco, and my adopted parents were from Fresno, so they picked me up and took me to Fresno, and that's where I grew up.
How old were you when they picked you up? Were you a baby?
Like a couple of months old.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So you were almost bred and raised in Fresno.
Fresno, yes.
Yeah. And so you went to school and everything in Fresno.
Mm-hmm.
Were you interested in any specific things in high school? Were you in sports or were you in drama, anything like that?
Seems like I got the best grades in my sewing class.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I did.
Yeah, so you were definitely good with your hands, it sounds like.
Yeah,
you have to be
that's
with
what
that.
I like to do.
Yeah. So did you have any aspirations as to what you were going to do when you got out of
I
high school?
had no idea.
So,
I was the only child, and so...
spoiled, I suppose?
Well, kind of, I guess, yeah, probably.
Oh, okay. So what did you do after high school? Were you going to go to college? Or?
I went to beauty college, and then I moved to Boston for a little while, and then just came back and got odd jobs. And
What did you do in Boston? Did you go by yourself?
I went with a friend, and her mother lived there. And then, like 30 or 40 years later, we found out we were really cousins.
No.
When I found my birth family and all that, and my cousin had a book with all the relatives, and she was in this book, and it's like, oh my God. And she was still in Boston, so I kind of found her and was like, oh my God, this is so crazy.
Yes, for sure. Well, when did you told me you became a welder, was that in Fresno?
Yes, just
Now,
doing odd jobs.
What did you, you have to be taught how to weld, don't you?
Well, I like trade schools, so I would go to different trade schools like beauty college and so forth. So I went to welding school and got a job at Fruhoff's making trucks with 600 men and 2 women.
Oh,
It's a great job.
Sakes. Yeah. How long did you do that?
It's about a year or 2. So.
Okay.
But then it's pretty hot there, and
Yes.
welding in 110 gets kind of cold.
Oh,
So-
yeah, Fresno is hot, I know. My son used to live there. And then what did you do after you got done with welding? What did you look into then? Were you still sewing all the time?
Yeah, I was pretty much sewing all the time. Then, well, I don't know. I didn't meet Barry until later, but I just kind of did some other odd jobs and stuff like that, really.
But always still with the hand sewing, etc.
Mhm.
When did you get, I know that you ended up doing costumes for different people, and how did that ever start?
I was working at a alteration store in Fresno, and then I started doing theater, and I would do theater up and down California and so forth like that, and I ended up in LA. And then I made amusement park rides for about 10 years down here.
Yeah.
And working for Disney and all the animation companies in the 80s and 90s when, when they were big and they were building amusement park rides for all over the world. So one of my jobs was going to Singapore and just shopping,
No kidding.
And it was, I thought, whoa, this is a
Hey,
life.
you just fly and we'll shop.
Yeah, it was a wonderful job. I thought, oh, this
Now,
is
is
great.
it shopping for...
For the ride, because they built a big ride right there in Singapore, so I needed to learn the history and, buy the fabrics and all that for that particular ride.
So it's like when you go to Small World?
Yes, those characters in Small World and those other characters like Knott's Berry Farm. This one company I worked at, we built the dinosaurs for there. Would be all the outer covering over the fiberglass. A lot of spandex and elastic and all those things because they all move.
Yeah.
And so you had to make costumes that moved. And
Wow.
so it was pretty fun working in those warehouses and, all very creative. And it was all R&D, research and development, because it was all kind of new, and the people that had those companies had initially, most of them had worked at Disney. So, it was like developing these techniques from there.
Right. But being in the R&D is also, therefore, your creativity is to, because again, you do have that kind of a mind, like, well, why don't we try doing it this way? Or we're not sure that's going to work, why don't we try this type thing? So did they buy some of your ideas as far as
you just work there and they give you the characters and then you cover them.
Oh.
They have the drawings and the designers and everything, and so you just put it together.
Well, it's one of my, and I haven't been to Disneyland in years, but one of the rides that I always made sure I went on was the Pirates of the Caribbean, because I liked what was behind the glass, the pirates and the treasures and the tiaras and the beautiful colors. And again, it took you to Fantasyland. So did you make some of those guys down there?
Well, I worked at Disney, and they have an Imagineering department in Tahanga, and when I worked there, we were doing roosters and different animals for Japan, I think, for that ride over there. I just worked there maybe a couple of seasons, but a lot of those jobs, you would, they would be part-time. It would just be for like a year, kind of like you'd build the ride for a certain country or whatever, and then they would kind of close down, so then I'd get a job at another place. So that was pretty fun, because then it gave me a few months in between jobs, and then I could play at home,
right?
And just make small characters.
Yeah. Well, and again, I never thought about this, the fact that Disney would make rides to send to other countries.
Well, they have Disneyland in so many countries now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Therefore, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So you make them somewhere, and so.
Did that lead into the job with Dr. Quinn?
Well, in order to be in that's always the big dream, because you don't make all that much money working in animation. But the big dream is always to work in film and so forth. But you have to put in 30 days in a union job. So I got a job at the Ice Capades, and I got my 30 days in. So then my name went into the union, in the 705 union. And so within a few weeks, they called me for a job at Dr. Quinn out there at Paramount Ranch, and like by Malibu out there. And so they said, well, this is just going to be part-time. You'll just be here a little while. But I was there like 6 years. And it was another great thing, because we would have that time off. You work 9 or 10 months, and then you have a few months off, and then, you
get to play.
Yeah.
You get to do that.
Yes.
For 6 years you were there. So you got to meet all kinds of stars.
Yeah, that was a great job.
So you dressed her, literally.
Yeah, well, yeah. We had a costume shop. We worked in a trailer up above, and we had a costume shop, and we had a designer and, cutter and stitchers and everything. And so, I worked up there. It's not a one person do one dress.
Right.
It's like a whole, everybody works on
like
everything.
An assembly line of that.
Kind of like that.
Wow. Did you always get along? I mean, since there's many people working in the same outfit, did you always get along with everyone, or no, you got to do it this way, or?
No, I get along.
Got along with everyone. So you did that 6 years and enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing, it sounds like to me, is that because of the fact that 6 months or 9 months and you have time off, that even if, you're getting a little tired of it, that a break's coming up.
Yes.
And then you get to do something else.
Yes.
So that part to me was, working with Disney stuff, and then the Dr. Quinn. But then, when and how old and why did your girlfriend talk you into going to teach English as a second language?
This is way down the line. When we moved to Maui
let's go back there then. You met your husband in California.
Yeah, I met my husband in California. I was in my 30s, and I met him by Fresno.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so he was the one that initially moved to LA, and so I was doing different jobs in California, different theaters and stuff, and then I ended up moving down there with him. So then he was a realtor, and he worked in the movies too a little bit on Matlock. And so then then in 2017, he was a realtor, and we lived out in the country out there in Agua Dulce, really, and it's all horse country out there. And I hate country living, I gotta tell you. So he came home from work and said, "Hey, I saw real estate's doing really good in Maui." Well, I was working on a job for a little bit longer. Well, we had tickets to Maui quickly, and we went over there, and we went there for 10 days. Before we left, we bought a condo there.
Really?
Because I knew that if we came back, that idea would be gone.
Right.
So we came home, and we had horses and dogs and cats and everything. We sold everything and packed up and moved over there to a 1-bedroom condo on the beach. Yeah.
Never regretted that, I'm sure.
I didn't. He was kind of scared all the time. And I would keep reminding him, "Hey, now remember, this is your idea, and it's a really good one. So let's just go with it."
Yeah, enjoy it. So he did real estate over there too?
Yeah, then he did real estate over there. And I did a lot of theater. So anyway, when you live in Maui, you do a lot of hula and ukulele.
Uh-huh.
So I'm in hula class one day, and I hear this lady behind me, and she's telling this other lady she's looking for people to go to China to teach English. Oh, I tapped her on the shoulder and I said, "Whoa, I want to do that." She goes, I called my friend, "Janet, come here, let's do this." And so she said, "Okay, here's the application." Well, they didn't ask, if you were a teacher, because I was never a teacher. But I always hated to talk in front of people, and I thought, this is a good challenge. This will be a good challenge for me. So we filled out the application, and one of the main things was, are you flexible, and blah, blah, blah. So I can do all that. So my friend and I, we jumped on that train, and it was pretty scary. But we went over there, and I thought I was going to a small school with young people. We get to Wuxi. It was in Wuxi, right by Shanghai. There's 4 million people in Wuxi, and we get to the school, and it is a university bigger than UCLA, and we have the honor students. Whoa! We were wanting to throw up. I'm telling you, it was so scary. And so, but we sucked it up, and we went, and it was a big adventure. I'll tell you that.
So did you do that during the summers?
Well, yes, it would be when their school was out. So
Okay.
it was only like a 3 or 4 week summer session where you teach them to. It's all talking,
Uh-huh.
So it was just for 3 or 4 weeks, and then we would travel after. A couple of us would travel to all those countries around there after. So it lasted like 8 years. I must have been flexible.
Yeah, I guess so.
But it was wonderful up until COVID.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that
So
put a
then
halt
that
to everything. Yeah.
then
And I know that one of the things that you did with the students there was the artwork that you decided one time to go back saying, "I'm going to have them, do something on fabric." So therefore you brought that back and did that and made that beautiful piece of art that you have in your bedroom. That to me was special, which is such a memory, I'm sure, with the names on them and everything.
Because they would work in little groups, so they would be talking with each other. So they would create characters and then act out little plays and, do little things like that. So before, I had always taken all these kinds of paper and had them do just paper little characters. But then the last year, I'm like, I think I'll take fabric and have them make me a fabric piece. So that was pretty cute. And I was living they had a show at the Maui Arts and Culture Center, and they would have a jury show every year. So I entered it in the jury show, and it got into the show, and so did he one year.
Really?
Yeah, so that was a big deal.
Well, I would say so. Yeah, again, and that to me, looking into your place and all the art that you've done here, the art dolls, all being, again, hand-sewn, sculpted, it's so unique. I've never seen anything done like that. And yet you've been doing it for how many years now? When did you start doing art dolls?
Since the 70s.
Wow.
when they first kind of started, I always loved to sew, and I was making things, and I made this little Raggedy Ann one day, and it kind of came alive when I did the face, and I thought, oh, I love this.
Mm.
So then I really started getting into trying to make them as more real,
Mhm.
you know, instead of baby dolls and
Exactly.
that kind of thing.
Well, like some of the, giraffe and deer and so on that you make, and people, you said they're anatomically correct.
Yeah.
So again, that to me is taking time and research and making sure that it's done properly. That again says something about the kind of work you do. To go back again to when you moved from Maui, you were there how long?
We were there about 17 or 18 years.
Well, that's a long time.
It was a long time. It was a wonderful time.
Wow. And
Yeah.
there you did just jobs with different people for
I worked
costumes?
at all the theaters there. They have like 3 or 4 live theaters, so I would design and make the costumes.
Oh,
One
wow.
theater, when I first thought, oh, I'll do that, I did the King and I keep banging my.
Yeah.
I thought, well, I volunteered to do the King and I. Not really. I lived in a 1-bedroom condo right there on the beach, like I said. Well, I didn't realize that was 160 costumes that I created in my little house, and my husband barely had room to from his chair to the TV.
Oh
you know?
my goodness.
And with those big hoop skirts and just so much stuff. And
But you did it. The
yeah,
challenge.
I did it. It was a big challenge. But I worked at all those theaters,
Wow.
designing their costumes and creating them.
I think that was one of the things you mentioned too about even with the English second language or whatever it is you've done, that it's like, no, I don't, you tell them, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
And then you go home and research it
Yes.
to learn how to do it.
Always.
Oh,
Because I always want to learn something from every job, every character, everything, so I always try to try something new, do
Yeah.
something new. I never look at a piece as a finished piece. It's always an experiment and always a learning something,
and then you said something that I don't want to forget it, but you should, about fearing something every day. What?
Oh, I think you should do something that kind of scares you every day. I'm not so into that lately, but I think it's good to scare yourself and do things out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, well, and it can be something as talking to a stranger. If people have never done that, then that would be something very scary. But
Or talking to 20 kids.
Yes. That's it. And yet, going back every year and, the whole getting them to work together, and then they'd have to learn to speak English. Someone could correct the other one if they knew they weren't saying it properly. So how creative you became even in teaching them. That was, another thing that was wonderful. And then came back here, and then you ended up buying here in the village at that time.
Yeah, my husband always wanted to come back here to the mainland, and he has a couple of kids that live here, and not in here, but not far. And so we bought our condo when the market was high. Then it went way down. So sadly, we were stuck, and I was always so excited to be stuck.
Yeah,
For all that time.
Yeah.
So then the market changed, and as you get older, you start thinking, well, they don't have such good medical over there in Maui, so we kind of started taking that into consideration, and talked me into it. So yeah, we bought here maybe 5 years ago, and then we would come back and forth. We did an exchange for another condo we had, and
Okay.
yeah, we'd come back and forth, and then we ended up moving here full time, I guess 2 years ago.
Okay. And you just got involved right away because I think you.
But yeah, I had got involved. Well, like I said, I did a lot of ukulele stuff, so we would come and stay here. We only rented part time, so we could come and stay a month or two in the summer. So I had joined a bunch of ukulele groups before I moved here
Oh, I see.
permanently. So when I moved here, it was all, I was already kind of with my
Yeah.
foot in the door.
Wonderful, wonderful. The other thing that, and I'd like to go back to that a little bit, is the fact that you were adopted, and that at one point in high school, I think you said that you wanted to find out more about your biological mother. How did you go about doing that?
Well, you know, everybody is always saying things like, oh, I look just like so-and-so. Oh, I do such and such just like so-and-so. And when you are like by yourself and there's no one that looks like you. And my adopted parents were like from Nebraska, so I was nothing like them.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can get a non-identifying information. So I got her name. So I would go to those adopted meetings sometimes and stuff, and you kind of make a step, and then, you know, I'd be over it for another year or two. So that went on until I was in my 40s.
Mm.
And I saw on Oprah, you know, that there was a bunch of adopted people, and they were talking about using the international locator. So I got a hold of them in Florida, and they said, well, you know, you send them $200 or something like that. And so a year or two later, they called me and said, oh, we're having a really hard time finding her. So, okay. So then one day I was working at Dr. Quinn, and I got a phone call, and they go, okay, here's her number. We found her now. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I thought, well, I'm going to call them right now. And one of the ladies goes, oh, well, don't you think you should think about it? I'm like, I've been thinking about it for 30-some years now. I need to think about it.
I'm ready.
So I called her up, and she said, oh, well, I knew you were going to call because somebody called me from Social Security or something like that and said they were looking for a Dorothy. Now, she had changed her name to Pat, and nobody called her Dorothy. So she thought, oh, my God, I bet it's her. So she said she immediately called her sister. So, you know, so when I called her, and I told her my name, and I knew that she was the one that had given me the name that I have.
Okay.
And let me tell you, in about 2 weeks, her and her sister were at my house.
No.
In LA.
Wonderful.
Because the only person that knew all this time was just her one sister and her sister's husband that lived in San Francisco. So when she got pregnant, her mother immediately sent her out to California to live with that sister. So they came to my house, and I was working on Dr. Quinn. You know, it's all about timing.
Yes.
And so I was working on Dr. Quinn, and so I would take her and her sister down there, and they had their picture taken with all the movie stars.
Oh,
And
wow.
oh my God, we did so many fun things. And one of Barry's friends was a cowboy, and he got married, and there was a big party, and all the cowboys and everything. And so it was wild. And at the end, I took all these pictures, and at the end, I gave her this little book to take home of her adventure in California.
Yeah.
So she took it home, and then she had a son and daughter. So then she went home, and then she was to tell them, you know. So her daughter was pregnant at the time, but she ended up calling me and going, it was one of my happiest days of my life when I found out I had a sister.
Oh,
I'm like, oh, that's so
wonderful.
cute.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, and then and so then a little while later, then she kind of told a few of her friends, you know, and kind of, because she was real shy, and so for her to go home and tell everybody, oh, I had this baby when I was like 19.
Yeah.
And nobody knew who the father was or anything, you know, but so then I went there a little around Thanksgiving, I guess, and I made a book of my whole life. So there wasn't so many questions, you know, that I could just go, oh, here's this book, blah, blah, blah. And she had told me the father's name. His name was Sonny Cotton. Anyway, so you would have thought that I had grown up there. They were so nice to me. And it was like everybody was so friendly, and it was such a wonderful thing. And so I had the little book, you know, and they're looking, and so my one cousin goes, whoa, she looks just like Kate Cawthon. Whoa, my ears perked up, Kate Cawthon. Oh my God, that's my father's last name. And see, nobody knew who the father was at this time, right? And he just said that, and he had been engaged to this Kate Cawthon.
Oh my goodness.
So after we left, I told my mother, oh, where are they? Oh, and I checked that. So she didn't really want to tell me because she thought it would be weird and so forth, you know.
Yeah.
But, well, I found out. Because the next time I went, I called this one sister. I said, hey, I think we have the same father. And she goes, let me call my sister. She had one other sister. So she calls me back and she goes, well, we knew. Like my dad got drunk or something and told me one time that he had had a baby with Pat.
Oh.
And I'm like, so it wasn't a surprise. And so we met. It was her and her sister. The year before, both of her parents had died and a sister had died. They were so excited to have a new sister.
Oh, wow.
And when they saw me, the first thing they said is, oh, we know you're our sister because you have the same color eyes as our daddy did. And no one else really did, So it wasn't ever weird. And by the next year or two, we were going on cruises and doing stuff. And by me having all that time off between those jobs, I was able to go back there. I've always wanted a family, and I wanted a big family and all that. So I cultivated that. And I went there I'm planning on going in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
A couple of months, really. But, I would go there every year, and I could stay there for a month or so and just get to know them and spend time with them and make memories with
Yes.
them. I go there for weddings and babies and stuff like that because they all had kids and all had, lives. And it's been a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Yeah, well, just thinking about what tension there is when people say, I want to find out who my biological parents are. And for you to find out, but also be absolutely enveloped immediately is the most beautiful ending to a story. And so it's a win-win for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But and to me, you're so creative about your art. But the fact that you also created a family, the family that you never had that you always wanted to have. And so and you've nurtured that. So therefore, like you said, you keep going back once or twice a year, go on cruises together, so that you are nurturing and keeping that creative family together.
Yeah.
That is just absolutely wonderful.
I mean, when my husband was sick, my sister and her husband came, and it just happened to be that day that he died.
Oh,
that
my goodness.
they were, they were staying in Laguna, but
So they were here for you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. See, it's just absolutely a beautiful story.
And the funny part is, none of them do art crafts. None of them do anything. But my adopted mother was a big sewer and a big, always was making ceramics or needlepoint or tons of stuff. So it was good that she was in my life, you know what I mean? Because then it kind of really created who I am.
You watched and you did exactly
and
what
I started sewing when I was a kid on the treadle sewing machine. Right?
Oh, did you really? Wow.
So that was just
and that says when you talk nature versus nurture, you really can't do both. You get from both.
Well, you really are your genes.
Yes.
When I went there and I met them, I was them.
Oh, isn't that? But then, because you said earlier that, I didn't look like anybody. Everybody says, oh, you look like you, and you said, I didn't look like anybody. All of a sudden, now you do.
Yeah.
You've got their eyes, etc.
Yeah.
So that kind of welcome home type feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, your story has a really happy ending in that respect.
I feel so lucky about that, They're all like in lower Alabama.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
They are. Now, did your adoptive parents, are they still alive?
No, my father had died when I was in elementary school, and my mother died in the 90s, just a couple of years after I found my birth family, but I never told her that I had found them.
Okay.
I didn't need to.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Well, I mean, you must have had a feeling about the fact that it might hurt her. So
she would be, she would be going, well, you have time to go there, but you don't have time to spend with me.
Yeah.
Kind of things
So
like
better
that.
not to even create that.
I didn't even go there.
That seems great. And also being very aware now and thankful that you are, you've got something from her, your ability to do so much with your hands, the sewing, sculpting, and so on. Which brings me back to, again, your art. And when you said that you made art dolls at your house, you had art dolls, I had no idea what you meant by that. So coming here the other day to look at your art dolls and see how you sculpt them with just fabric, I'm astounded. And the fact that you create, in fact, you won first prize on your
People's Choice.
Oh, People's Choice, and that's on the third floor at the admin building. And it's pictures on fabric of
Boy George and Keith Richards.
Keith Richards. Well, you definitely would recognize them.
Yeah.
But again, to be doing it in fabric, that to me is just absolutely amazing. And when I saw some of your work, I asked you that about how do you come up with this? How do you decide you're going to make this or that? And you said it kind of starts in themes. So did you always intend that, where you just said, or did that just kind of come naturally? You made one thing and then you thought, oh, like even with Merman here, that you made some other like pirates and mermaids and so on. So it's kind of a theme. And Cirque du Soleil, all that kind of thing.
Yeah, and a lot of times they just create themselves. They really have a personality, and they really tell you, I don't like that you have on me. I don't like that.
I was going to ask
and
you.
they really do kind of tell me what they, oh yeah, for sure.
Way to go.
And I put little crystals in them, so they have like a little soul, and sometimes they want a boyfriend, and they have a whole conversation.
Oh, so you're never lonely.
No.
You're always talking to your people. Yeah, you talk to your people.
Yeah.
And you talk to your animals, because I've seen you made the deer and the giraffes and so on. Do you have a preference as to what you make, what you sculpt?
Well, when I moved to Maui, people didn't know what art dolls were over there. And so I started making wall hangings.
Ah.
I thought, oh, okay, but I love to do fabric, so I joined a quilt guild. And so I started doing the wall hangings and stuff like that. Art dolls are kind of not in anymore. So that's why I started making a couple of animals.
Well, the wall hangings, which when you walk into your house, you've got some beautiful wall hangings, bright, brilliant colors that I like. And my thought was that if people have a certain scene or a picture or animal, whatever, on a wall hanging, and they said, could you do that for me? Would you be able to do that? Have you ever done that for someone?
I could do that, but then that becomes like a job.
Yes, true.
And I only really like to play.
That is what sounds so... It sounds so funny about the fact that I'm just going to play today, and I'm going to make these dolls that are going to tell me what they want to wear and what they don't want to wear.
Yes. That my husband used to say that all the time. All you do is just play. I know, and I'm not changing my ways either. But I just do play.
Yeah. Well, it reminds me of when I was a little girl and playing, and you have to create your own playmates, if you will, because I was 5 years older than my sister. So I was alone there, and you create these people that sat on your couch that you made in your playhouse or whatever. And it sounds like you've done that and continue to do that into your adult life. And it has kept you, creative, happy, not lonely. Are you at an age where you still can get scared every day? Or how are you about the challenge of doing something maybe that you haven't done before? Do you still do that?
Well,
I'm not going to say
I haven't anything come up, but I'm always in for a challenge.
What do you think? Where did that come from? Do you know why you always were up for a challenge, or was it just the adventure of doing something different?
Well, I'm afraid I'm only going to go around one time, so I don't want to miss anything. So I really tried to do as much and everything in life possible.
Yeah, and without it being dangerous. I mean, the challenge is one thing, but did you do things that were dangerous where you look back and said, well, that wasn't a very smart thing to do?
Well, of course.
Oh, okay.
We're not going to go into
We're
that.
not going to talk about that.
But of course, many times.
Oh, my stars. But you didn't quit, though. Even if you did something like, oh, I'll never do that again.
Well, yeah.
But then you did again, but, again, you were forewarned, but still.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you've got it in your blood to just always... the challenge, I think, is a good word for it.
And never expectations. I never have expectations. Just like with meeting my family and all that, I never had a preconceived idea in my mind, or even like really teaching and going. I just never have expectations, and I think that makes life so much easier, because those expectations will destroy what's going on.
The expectation chances are it's going to lead to disappointment.
Yes,
Because
yes,
your expectations are always higher than reality.
yes.
But once you have taught yourself, it sounds like very early on, to have no expectation, it is what it is and it'll be what it'll be, and never ever get tired of that.
Yeah, because
What a wonderful way.
it's just an adventure. Life is just an adventure.
That it is, and you've definitely made it an adventure. And I'm hoping that you will see down the road a little bit that I would love for the people in the village to be exposed to your art, to your art dolls, to your creativity. I think it's very, very unique. I think they would appreciate it. And I think the people in the village here, they stay young when they have something that they love doing each and every day. Even like you said, how many days? You go quite a few days a week to your ukulele class.
Well, probably every day.
Really?
Well, not too much on Saturday and Sunday, but most every day.
So there's a place for you to go and
Yeah,
play?
but last night, as a matter of fact, I was at Huntington Beach and we were the entertainment for the early show, and then we played with 200 ukulele players on the beach at Huntington Beach, right there on the
wow.
sidewalk. So there's a lot of, yeah.
Now, is a lot of that just here in the village, or is it outside?
Well, here in the village, there's the string band that I go to on Thursdays, and then there's a ukulele group on Friday, and then Tuesday is a big ukulele group in Mission Viejo. There's 100 some people that are members of that club. So that ukulele has really kind of taken over, it seems.
It has.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. I've heard about the string band here in the village
Mhm.
that involves, ukuleles and guitars and so on and
Yeah.
so on. But I didn't know there was a big one like that in Mission Viejo.
Oh yeah, and then yeah, they're everywhere. It's amazing.
Yeah. Are you going to take up the guitar too, or?
Well, I just like to have stuff.
Yeah, I gathered that, but again, the challenge. Of
Well, I have a baritone, which is tuned like a guitar, so I thought, well, I'll get one just in case.
Sure.
Then I got a bass the other day, just in case I wanted to try it out.
Well, if you take that to the string band place, I'm sure there's somebody there that's playing guitar.
Oh yeah,
Or bass.
plenty.
Yeah. Now, if you were to decide to do that, is it that similar to the ukulele that you can pick it up real quick, or do you have to take guitar lessons, or do you teach
Oh,
yourself
it's
on
similar.
YouTube?
It's similar. I mean, YouTube is good.
That's
You know, I don't know.
something else you can do so you can play.
Yeah, just
Right.
play.
Just turn on YouTube and start learning to play the guitar.
I had a child for many years also.
Okay. Where
Yeah. And
in Fresno?
yeah, and all around. But he died when he was 20.
Oh my goodness.
So I want to throw that in. That I was a parent
Uh-huh.
at one time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Was he creative like you?
Well, he was still young. Just in school and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, but then he died on a motorcycle at 20.
Oh my dear.
But I'm so thankful to at least have been a parent.
Yes.
And understand
experience.
the experience.
Yeah, the experience of that and working with all your children here.
Yeah,
Your
yes.
dolls aren't your children.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you so much for this. You've had a very, very exciting life, to say the least, and it isn't over.
No.
Not by a stretch. So I'm sure there'll be something. In fact, if I think of something that I want to challenge you with, I'll give you a call and say, how about this? I wish I was young enough to jump on a plane like you did and every summer go to China and teach English as a second language.
Yeah, that was great.
You were brave, and I'm sure you have no regrets over that
Oh,
at all.
no.
So again, think about it, because we'd love to have you do a show with all your people and all your animals, and so people can enjoy them like I have seeing them here. So
Thank you.
thanks
It's been
again.
a pleasure.
All righty. Bye.